Hello, my name is Dina Foster. I'm here with Monarch Housing Associates. This is the webinar training for the 2019 point in time or PIT count, which will be conducted on January 23rd, 2019. This webinar will cover a basic introduction, who to count in the point in time count, sheltered and unsheltered count procedures, general survey guidelines, survey definitions, tips for conducting interviews, survey questions in detail, how to put the data online on SurveyMonkey, how to complete the questions online using SurveyMonkey, and also a view of HMIS. If you have any questions, you can feel free to contact us at www.monarchhousing.org. Also available online is the quick reference guide, as well as the survey, which is available in English as well as in Spanish, and abbreviations for question number 6. Here are some websites for HUD guidance, referring to the methodology, and as well as the HIC and PIT data collection guides for your review. What is the point in time count? It basically is a count of homeless persons in a given area on a single night. This count should be statistically reliable, unduplicated, inclusive of sheltered and unsheltered homeless individuals and households. It's conducted during the last week of January, and this is a HUD requirement. It's planned, coordinated, and carried out locally. The purpose of doing a point-in-time count is to gather data for local homeless planning purposes. We want to know who is homeless, where the homeless find shelter, factors contributing to homelessness in the community, and what services are needed by the homeless. Completing a point-in-time count is a HUD requirement for COC funding. For example, if your community finds during the count that there's an increase of individuals who lost housing due to loss of income, it's possible that there is a need for this type of service and planning in your community. By HUD definition, a person should be counted as homeless if that person is unsheltered, meaning they sleep somewhere that is not meant for human habitation, such as a car, a park, abandoned building, or on the street, as well as sheltered, those people who are in emergency shelter, safe havens, or transitional housing. Those at risk of homelessness should be counted as well in the PIT, but they will not be classified as being homeless. That's someone who might be in a medical hospital, doubled up, meaning they live on someone's couch or they're staying with a family and friend, but not necessarily their own home, someone who is in a nursing home or in a jail or prison. Gathering this information for those at risk is important, even though these people aren't classified as homeless, to know what possible preventative services your community can offer. All the unsheltered will be counted using a paper survey. If a person is sheltered, if your agency is using the HMIS system, that information will be pulled from HMIS. If your agency is not using the HMIS system, a paper survey will need to be used for those clients. And all shelter programs will need to submit a summary survey form. Anyone who's at risk of being homeless will also need to be surveyed through the paper surveys. Here is a shelter summary form. We need the county, agency name, progress name, also your HMIS program name, which could be different from the program name, and the total number of people served on the night of January 22nd, 2019. And this is combined total for adults and children. This shelter summary form is due to the PIT coordinators by January 25th. And it's important so we can know if there's a discrepancy between what's counted on the shelter summary form versus what we see in the HMIS system or what we see on SurveyMonkey. Here is an example of the paper survey. There are 12 questions which you will be asking of the client. When is the 2019 PIT count? This survey is going to be conducted from Tuesday, January 22nd to Wednesday, January 23rd. Night counts only on the night of January 22nd, and daytime counts only on January 23rd. There are some communities which will be using a 7-day service-based unsheltered count, and those counts will go from the 22nd all the way through January 29th. 30th. Sorry, January 30th. General guidelines include only one survey should be conducted per household. A household is defined as any group of persons who would be housed together if they were able to obtain permanent housing. That can include parents with children, guardians with children, two adults who choose to live together. Survey should be conducted by interviews and not just given to the respondents to fill out. You really want to engage the people you meet in a conversation about their history of being homeless or potentially being homeless. You don't have to read all the answers to the questions except if it says check all that apply. If no response is given to any of the questions on the survey, please leave this answer blank. The exception is to question number 6, which we will go over in more detail, which asks about certain demographics, including relationship to head of household, age, gender, race, and ethnicity. Please guess these fields for the respondent and use your professional judgment. If the respondent may be unsure about the other household members, you can help them guess as well. And if the person filling out the survey chooses not to respond for question number 1, do not complete a survey. That's because we will have no idea if the person is truly homeless or not if they don't answer where they slept on the night of January 22nd. Other general guidelines include if you are a veteran program, label all clients as veterans or served in the armed forces. If you are a domestic violence program, label all clients as fleeing domestic violence. If your program is in HMIS, paper surveys from your program will not be counted unless it identifies that the client stayed in another location other than your program. And during deduplication, an agency-conducted paper survey will be used over a duplicate from another count location. Also, HMIS records will be used over duplicate surveys. So it's very important to have your HMIS records up to date because that is the first source of information we'll be using as opposed to another survey. HMIS participating programs that are entering multiple services into the same program in HMIS will not be able to have their information pulled from HMIS for the PIT. For example, if you have a program that has motel, hotel clients, as well as the same program paying for preventative service such as rental assistance, the clients who are in the hotel, motel, will need to complete a paper survey because there will be no way to tell which clients are at risk for homelessness versus which ones are homeless. Some simple tips for conducting interviews is to introduce yourself and also ask them, the client or the household, if they are already taking the survey. You want to make sure that engaging with the person you're interviewing is a conversational rather than just reading through the questions. You're able to paraphrase the questions to make it easier for them to understand what you're asking. And also the survey is available in Spanish for those individuals or households who aren't so familiar with English. Ask questions to clarify their response if necessary. Please remember these are sensitive questions, so try to conduct the interview in a quiet and private manner. Be friendly and respectful and polite, and always thank them for their time. At the top of the survey are the code, county, agency, and program name. This information needs to be filled out for every survey. This information should be pre-populated by the local PIT coordinators before distributing paper surveys. If not, then you can contact your PIT coordinator for the code. The first question, have you already participated in the 2019 PIT survey? It's a yes or no. Just ask if they already taken the survey. You can, if you're not sure if the person is truthful in their information, you could always ask them, where did you take the survey? If they say no, and you know for sure they've taken the survey and they might want an extra incentive, feel free to, provide them with those incentives again. Question number 1, where did you spend the night of Tuesday, January 22nd? So for this question, you don't have to read all the answers. You would ask the question and let them respond. If they don't answer this question, you are not able to complete the survey. If someone answers hotel or motel is where they stayed on that night, please follow up with a clarifying question. Was it paid for an agency or for family and friend? And that will be the difference between someone being homeless versus someone being at risk. Also, we have the definitions for the different placements, such as emergency shelter, transitional housing, for your review. It should be noted that if someone says they stayed in a safe haven, the location for a safe haven, New Jersey, is in Morris County. So if they aren't from Morris County or possibly out of state, then they did not stay in a safe haven. Question number 2, in what town did you spend the night? You want to ask the respondents if the location where they stayed is affiliated with any program agency and record that as possible. It's very important to try to get the town they stayed in. If they're not sure where they stayed, try to get a landmark. Question number 3, how long have you been in your current living situation? This question is asking about their most recent continuous living situation. So for example, if the respondent has been homeless for off and on for 2 years, but he or she said they lost their housing most recently 2 weeks ago, you would write 14 days. If the respondent is in a shelter or transitional housing program, then you can use this as their length of stay in the program to correspond to their length of their current living situation. Question number 4, during the past 12 months, how many months have you been on the street, an emergency shelter, and a safe haven? You want to enter the number of full months of homelessness the respondent has experienced during the past 12 months only. This answer should not equal more than 12 months because we're only asking about the past year. And if the respondent has never been in a homeless location or any leaves, you would enter 0. If there is no response to this question, please leave it blank. How many separate times have you been on the street, in a shelter, or in a safe haven within the past 3 years? This question is gathering their history of homelessness, which is very important for us to determine their status of being chronically homeless. So each episode of homelessness has to be distinct and should be separated by at least 7 days in a non-homeless location. For example, if the person says, for episode number 1, I spent 4 months on the street, and then I had went to a friend's house for a long weekend and went back on the street, this counts as one continuous episode because it was shorter than the 7 days. If the respondent has never been in a homeless location in the past 3 years, enter 0 for all columns in row 1. Here is a definition of chronically homeless. A person who is chronically homeless means that they have a disability as well as they've been continuously homeless for 12 months or they've been homeless on at least 4 separate occasions in the last 3 years. sorry, which equals to at least 12 months. Question number six. Who was homeless with you on the night of January 22nd? Question number 6 is where we collect all our demographic information. Please fill out this part as completely as possible for every household member that shared identified sleeping arrangements with the person filling out the survey. If the household members spent the night separately, you do not include their information. So if someone says, I slept on the street and my daughter slept with her grandmother, unfortunately, you cannot include the daughter because the person and the daughter did not share the same sleep arrangements for the night of January 22nd. If the respondent is unsure about the information of their household members, have them give their best guess. If the respondent gives no response with regard to age, gender, ethnicity, or race, you should guess the answer. You use your professional guess, but do not guess about other demographic or personal characteristic fields, and do not guess answers for other household members. If at the least there's no response, please try to get at least the gender and the age, which is important to reporting for HUD. The respondent is considered the head of the household and is designated as self, so that goes in box number 1. And then following 2 through 10 are the other household members. First initial, middle initial, if possible, or first 2 letters of last name should be given. And this is only to avoid duplication, so you can remember to tell the person you're interviewing that the survey is anonymous and we're only using initials to remove any duplication. If there's no middle initial, please leave the space blank. For age, enter only numerical values. For gender, F for female, M for male, TR for transgender, G and C for gender nonconforming. For race, list all that apply from the following: B for Black or African American, AI for American Indian or Alaska Native, AS for Asian, PI for Pacific Islander or Native Hawaiian, WH for white or Caucasian. If the person you're interviewing is Hispanic, we ask that you please choose a race from the list above in addition to identifying their ethnicity as Hispanic. And for ethnicity, you can either enter H for Hispanic or NH for non-Hispanic. The person is able to enter more than one race that they identify with. And if a respondent gives no response for ethnicity or race, at least remember to provide us with gender and age for each person listed on the survey. So that's the person interviewing as well as the other household members. Also, we need household characteristics. So this is, in this section, you would read the disabling conditions. For example, you might say, do you have any history of mental health issues, substance abuse, physical disability, and so on and so forth. It's important to record this information for each person listed under the household, including the person that's being interviewed. Individual actively fleeing a family member would be checked off for fleeing domestic violence. For served in armed forces or veteran, a person who has served within the armed forces of the U.S. If someone has served in the armed services in another country, we would not put served in armed forces. We only want the veterans or the people who have served in the U.S. Military. None apply. Check this option only if none of these disabling conditions or subpopulation criteria are related to the household member. If no response is given, leave this section blank. Here is an example of a potentially completed survey for question number 6. Be sure to ask a direct question about each characteristic for each household member. Question number 7. Where was your last permanent address before becoming homeless? Please provide us with the town, county, state, and country. If there's no response, leave this section blank. Question number 8. What was your residence prior to your current living situation? For this question, you would ask the question and wait for their response. Check only one answer. If no response was given, please leave it blank. If something is not listed, check other and then write it legibly in the box where it says other. Question number 9. What was the primary factor that contributed to or caused your current living situation? Check only one answer. If the respondent's answer is not listed, you can check other and describe in the box. Natural disasters can include fire or flood. Also, if someone says eviction, you can feel free to probe a little deeper. For example, if you said, well, why were you evicted? Maybe they were just recently lost their job. Someone might ask, well, why did you lose your job? Say, I had a conviction record and they found out and I lost my job, therefore I lost my housing. So there might be more layers to just the initial response. Question number 10. Which of the following do you or anyone in your household receive? You would read off the choices to the client, and it's also for the respondent doing the survey as well as everyone in their household. So one person might receive Medicare and another person might receive SSI. You would check both boxes. There are definitions and explanations on the different benefits and incomes as well available. If the respondent says he or she has no source of income or is receiving no government benefits, please be sure to mark these fields here and here. Question number 11, what is your total monthly household income? All earned income for household members 18 or older, as well as all non-earned income for household members 17 or younger should be taken into account. This includes if a child is disabled and they receive SSD. If someone has food stamps, this is not included as income. Question number 12, the last question on the survey, says, would you or anyone in your household like to receive any of the following? And you would just read these choices to them and check off what services they would be interested in partaking in. If there's something not listed, you can write it under other. Also, be sure to thank the respondent for their time and your survey is completed. Make sure you check all the answers, make sure they're complete and legible. And this information will be put into the Survey Monkey. All paper surveys should be turned into your local PIT coordinators or the agencies. Okay. And now we'll be going over how to use the 2019 online survey tool that's on SurveyMonkey.
Hi, my name is Casey Conjero. I am with Monarch Housing Associates, and I am going to go over the online survey tool with SurveyMonkey as well as the HMIS data for you today. The 2019 online survey tool through SurveyMonkey will be available, and those links will be emailed out to the point-in-time coordinators. The paper survey, where we will be asking about the night of January 22nd through January 23rd. That data must be inputted online in SurveyMonkey by Wednesday, February 6th by 5 p.m. Those surveys will open up and be available for Board of Social Services and for non-HMIS transitional housing programs on Wednesday, January 16th. They will become live. The HMIS data, we ask that all of that data be up to date for the night of January 22nd into January 23rd by Friday, January 25th, as Monarch will be pulling that data initially at 5 p.m. on the 25th. We will verify all of this by Wednesday, February 6th. So again, the final pull for data will be Wednesday, February 6th from Monarch through HMIS. The summary survey form will be due to Monarch by 5 p.m. on Friday, January 25th. You will just click the link emailed to you for the survey. Be sure you're following the link for the live survey option. It is recommended that one person from each agency enter the survey data to reduce data entry differences from person to person. If no more than one person will be entering the data, we suggest that you agree upon a uniform data entry model. If a question requires an answer but the respondent did not respond or a question was left blank, select no response. Question 1 or the gender or age fields in question 6 are left blank. Do not input the survey online. Note that with every question with an asterisk must be answered in order to move on to the next page of the survey. When you complete all questions on pages 1, 2, or 3 of the survey, click the next button at the bottom of the screen. To go back, you can click the previous button. If you are returned to the page you just completed, you may have missed a required field, so find that and complete it. For the first question, you're going to enter for the first page, you will enter the code, the county, the agency, and the program. Again, that agency code is going to come to you from your point in time coordinator. For the first question, you will be choosing only one of the below options. Select one option. If there was another option that isn't available there, you can check other and then please type in the answer. Again, for this question, if no response was given, don't complete the survey. For number 2, you will pick what county the person spent the night in, and then from there, you don't want to forget to write in the name of the program and agency where the respondent stayed, if that's applicable for emergency housing. Then, based on the county that you choose, it will auto-populate to the towns in that county, and you will choose which town the respondent spent the night in. If the respondent's answer is not available in the list provided, please select other and write in the answer. For question 3, how long have you been in your current living situation? Select the most accurate drop-down response. If no answer is given, select no response from the drop-down. Simplify the data entry by using all 3 units, years, months, and days, to give the most complete answer possible. So for example, if the interviewee said that they had been homeless for 18 months, enter 1 year, 6 months, or 45 days, you can enter 1 month, 15 days. During the past 12 months, how many months have you been homeless on the streets, in an emergency shelter, or in a safe haven? This is again going to be a drop down. We're going to enter the number of months of homeless the respondent has experienced during the past 12 months. And if they have never been homeless in the past 12 months, you will enter 0. If there is not a response available, please select no response. And again, these 3 sections should not add up to more than 12 months, as we are only looking for the past 12 months. For question 5, you are going to enter how many separate times the person has been in the street or in a safe haven or transitional housing in the past 3 years. That is going to be a drop-down menu again. If the respondent has never been in any of these locations in the past 3 years, you will enter 0 in row 1. If there is not a response available, please select no response. Remember, distinct episodes should be separated by at least 7 days in a non-homeless location. For question 6, who was homeless with you on the night of the count? Row numbers under the demographic information correspond to your row numbers under household characteristics. So you reserve row 1 for the head of household information. Be sure the information matches the correct household member, so make sure that you're lining up your your rows accurately when you're repopulating this information and inputting the data. Row 1, again, is going to be for the head of household, and then below that you will enter any other household members. If the paper survey has invalid answers such as sister or brother, you would select sibling from the menu, and uncle, cousin would be relative, partners or significant others would be spouse. If the respondent gives no age, gender, or ethnicity, the surveyor should take his or her best guess to complete these fields. Do not guess other household members. If no response is chosen on a paper survey being entered, please select no response for fields that are blank. Information for the head of household on line 1 must be completely filled out in order to progress to the next section of the survey. If this section is left blank for a household member on the paper response, or if there's no response, please check no response. If multiple racial identities apply to a household member, check all of the ones that apply. If this section is left blank for a household member on the paper survey, or if there is no response, check no response. If none of these characteristics apply to a household member, you would check none apply. Make sure all that information is completed accurately for each household member before clicking next. Check all the boxes that apply to each household member. And every field for the head of household on line 1 must be completely filled out in order to progress to the next section of the survey. For question 7, where was your last permanent address before becoming homeless? Be sure to enter all information for town, county, state, and country. If no answer has been provided, please leave blank, and if the respondent is not homeless, write N/A in the town field. For question 8, what was your residence prior to current living situation? You will select one option. If no response is given, you will check no response. If the respondent's answer is not included in the list, click in the text box under Other and type in the answer. For question 9, you will do the same. You will check only one option, and if no response is given, check no response. You can also utilize that text box under Other if the answer is not available there. For question 10 is a check all apply. So that means you can check all income or benefits that any household members receive. If a paper survey is blank or there is no response, then you can check no response. Check no source of income, receiving no government benefits, or click in text box to specify another answer under Other if applicable. For question 11, what is your total monthly income? You will enter this in a valid numerical value. Do not enter any commas or periods. The number should reflect the total monthly earned income of all household members 18 or older and non-earned income for household members 17 or younger. If there is no response available, you can leave this blank. For the last question, you will check all that apply. If no response is given, you would check no response. And again, if there is a service not written in here and auto-populated, you would write that in if requested by the interviewee. After you finish the last page of the survey, if you are sure that the information entered is accurate and complete, please click Done. If you are unsure, please check your work, because if you click Done, you will no longer be able to change the data. If the survey is fully completed, you will see a screen that says, "Thank you for participating in NJ Counts 2019, indicating that your answers have been successfully submitted. If you do not see the screen, then your information has not yet been uploaded. Find any missing answers and complete them, then click Done." This is the screen you will see when the survey is fully submitted. Once this is shown, you cannot change the information that is uploaded, and if anything needs to be corrected, please contact Monarch Housing with the respondent identifier information for the survey containing the error. If you see the thank you screen, you can exit the survey, or if you'd like to enter another survey, click the Done button at the bottom of the screen, and this will bring you to another survey where you can begin entering new data. For the 2019 point in time count, there's also going to be a pull of the data existing in HMIS. This sheltered count form will be submitted by each agency by January 25th at 5 p.m. This will reflect the county agency name, program name, HMIS program name, and total number of people served on the night of the count. When is the 2019 point in time count? It's Tuesday, January 2nd to Wednesday, January 23rd. So please ensure that your HMIS data is accurate for this time period. Monarch will pull that data initially at 1 p.m. on Friday, January 25th for verification. And we ask that, again, that summary survey form be submitted to your coordinator by January 25th and then submitted to us at Monarch. For verification and finalization of data, we ask that it be done by Wednesday, February 6th, because this will be the final data pull from the HMIS. Updating HMIS. Ensure accurate information is entered for all program participants for January 22nd to 23rd in 2019. Be sure that both individual and household level information is accurate. Update the household income to reflect current information accurately. Don't change the client admission information, just conduct an update. Contact HMIS provider if experiencing difficulties. Every question should have an answer. There should be no missing fields, unknown, data not collected, client doesn't know, client refused, unless they really do. Please re-interview clients if possible to get those answers. Be careful when entering birth dates and monthly income data to ensure it is accurate, and ensure the household members are recorded properly. Cross-survey deduplication fields. So we will be looking at the name, age, birth date, gender, race, ethnicity, and household members. If any paper surveys come in, this is how we will deduplicate from the HMIS data. The disabling condition information. Make sure that the disabling conditions and other subpopulations are up to date. It may have changed since the initial interview and initial input into HMIS, so please be sure that that is up to date. The disability definition does not necessarily mean that of the Social Security Administration. We're looking to ascertain if condition is of long duration and the person would benefit from supportive housing. Parts of the disability question, you're identifying the disability is either through self-report or your knowledge of the claim. What would qualify as a disability is, does this person need or would they benefit from supportive housing? If yes, then check that box that indicates expected to be of long, continued, and indefinite duration, experiencing their ability to live independently. Veteran status. You would check this if you have ever served in the armed forces. This question is not concerned with the technical definition of a veteran, and there is no time requirement for service in order to qualify. If any, sometimes consumers are concerned with answering yes, as they feel that it will prevent them or put them in specific services. Assure them that that's not the case. Victims of domestic violence, we're trying to capture those who are currently fleeing. So whether the household is fleeing is up to the client to discern. There are no specific time frame requirements to qualify as fleeing. Information is pulled from that question. This field should not contain data not collected, client refused, or client doesn't know, again, unless they really do refuse or they don't know. The approximate date homelessness started. We are asking this question to determine a person's chronic homeless status. Locally, chronic homeless status impacts how quickly the person can access permanent housing opportunities. So for the point in time, it provides a chance to show how well we are doing at ending chronic homelessness. For local planning, it serves as an indicator about how well your system is functioning and points out the need to replicate successful models or refocus energies to fix an issue that is impacting progress. What is this question asking? When did their current episode of homelessness begin, and how long has this person been homeless in other locations prior to coming to you for assistance? So let's define homeless. The person has stayed on the street in an emergency shelter, transitional housing program, or safe haven. The question is not asking about when was the last time you had your name on a lease or paid rent, how long you've been couch surfing, or how long you've been living in substandard housing. It is not asking how long you have felt homeless. Be clear about what you mean by homeless. Ask how long have you been on the streets in another shelter, transitional housing program, or safe haven before coming today. Probe further when they provide a date. Since that period, have there been any times you've stayed with family, friends, in a rooming house, boarding home, apartment you paid for, or had a hotel room you paid for longer than 7 days? If yes, then you would ask when was the last time you stayed in one of those places. Approximately what date did you leave? Use the most recent date provided as approximate date homelessness started after further probing. The number of times the client has been on the streets, in the emergency shelter, or safe haven in the past 3 years, including today. So don't ask how many times have you been homeless, but you want to ask detailed, succinct, probing questions that help you to get an accurate answer. For example, in the last 3 years, how many times have you been on the street? How many times have you been in an emergency shelter? Or how many times have you been in a safe haven? The total number of months homeless on the street, in shelter, or safe haven in the past 3 years. We don't want to know how many months they've been homeless in the past 3 years. We want to ask them more probing questions. So you said you were homeless on the street 3 times and in an emergency shelter 2 times in the last 3 years. The first time you were on the street, how many months were you there? What about the second, third? For the first, stay in an emergency shelter, how many months were you there? Do the calculation of the total number of months homeless for the client. Don't expect them to do the mental math themselves. Reaffirm the information you have heard from them with verifying questions. So as I understand it, you were in a shelter for X amount of times for X amount of months for the first day, and so on and so forth. You would then want to try and total up a number based on what they tell you. For monthly income, be sure to identify each source and the amount associated with that source. So make sure those records are updated to reflect the night of January 22nd into 23rd. Sometimes consumers come into programs and they have GA, and then during the duration of their stay with the program, they get approved for SSI. So we want to make sure that updated income information is accurate. For non-cash benefits and health insurance coverage, be sure to identify each source. Update those records for clients that have been in your program for a while. Ensure the benefits make sense for the household, aka a single adult should not be enrolled in a children's state health program, or if the person says they receive a VA pension but isn't a veteran. For the homeless cause, probe a bit to get as close to the root cause as possible. So if they say they got evicted, you can follow up with, well, why did you get evicted? And then they disclose that they got evicted because they went to jail or they lost their job. The last, permanent address. Please get the zip code. If they don't know the zip code, please look it up for the town they identified. You will complete the same of the city, town, and the county. Again, ensure you don't just put the county they are currently in, but indicate the county they say they are from. So some important dates. Again, submit that sheltered summary forms to your point in time coordinator, and they will submit it to us by Friday, January 25th, 2019. That will be when the initial data pull is done. The data cleanup can occur until Tuesday, February 5th, as on Wednesday, February 6th, we will be completing a final data pull. If you are unsure about how to update or correct your data in HMIS and your COC subscribes to Foothold Awards or HMIS software, see the HMFA's HMIS training resources on entering additional household members, processing new intakes, or you can contact NJ HMIS at the below website and phone number. Contact your local point-in-time coordinators with any questions, and we will be releasing the point-in-time webinar that you are watching for further resources. Again, if you have any questions, please contact Monarch Housing at njcounts@monarchhousing.org, or you can call us at 908-272-5363, extension 232, and we have additional resources available on our website.